Hey, if you couldn't tell, this video is going to be chock full of spoilers for Invincible. If you haven't read the comics or want to catch up with the show, just click off this video, or skip to this time code if you want to see the next fight I'm going to be writing. Alright? Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah. Power! Something all men strive for. If you want to find displays of strength far greater than you can ever imagine, just look beyond the stars, and you'll find those who will flaunt their might to those below them. A description that perfectly encapsulates these brutal alien soldiers lacking in the hair department. Conquest, the century-old Viltrumite warrior from Invincible. Nappa, the season-stained fighter from Dragon Ball. What would happen when these two proud warriors were to meet? There's only one way to find out. Across this vast galaxy, no name is quite as infamous as the Viltrumite Empire. The Viltrumites, over multiple centuries, crafted a flawless civilization, forming a society with advanced medicine and technology, even extending a helping hand to planets in need. Oh yeah, kinda left at the part where, in order to reach this perfect utopia, they basically had to call the weak, leaving only the strongest among them. The Viltrumites then decided to make their empire the only one in the galaxy, through whatever violent means necessary. Viltrumites left and right invaded planets, whittling down their defenses, all in order to secure homeworlds for the Viltrumite takeover. And one of their best warriors is always willing to do the job, a man who named himself after the one thing Viltrumites do best: Conquest. Born even before the Viltrumite Civil War, Conquest was a warrior and was around longer than any Viltrumite in the series, being around during the Scourge virus, which weakened Conquest against the Ragnar, who took his eye and arm, but as Viltrumites do, he survived and adapted to be better than ever. You see, as Viltrumites age in battle, they become stronger, so even after losing an arm, Conquest is still a fighting champ, especially after gaining a sick-ass robot arm. Viltrumites also have some abilities such as super strength, speed, endurance, regeneration, shockwave creation, flight, and resistance to poisons, disease, radiation, heat, and the cold. This is due to the Viltrumites' ability to manipulate the smart atoms within their body. You see, depending on the scenario Viltrumite faces, they can subconsciously change their body's makeup to alter the smart atoms into Okay, basically, it's the comic book bullshit that explains how Viltrumites do cool shit. And yeah, why wouldn't Conquest be an exception? But these smart atoms also explain how Viltrumites can stay alive for way longer than you'd expect. Compare Conquest to another Viltrumite, Nolan. You know Nolan, father of the kid the series is named after, caught a meteor the size of Texas, train enthusiast. Fucked. At the high end, he looks like he's around in his 40s, maybe 50s, but he's actually been around for 2,000 years. So imagine just how old Conquest is. Yeah, imagine. No, seriously, try to. Even the series doesn't bother with it. But as you'd expect, being around for so long has its obvious drawbacks. Conquest has openly expressed he's gotten bored of his constant routine of, hold on. Crushing planets for the sake of Viltrum, not really finding any enjoyment in his work anymore. That is, until he was assigned to the planet Earth, where he was told just one thing: take control. No restrictions, nothing was off limits. All he had to do was take control. And the only thing getting in the way of his goal was Nolan's son, Mark. And their battle was a sight to behold. Conquest pushed Invincible to his limits, allowing for Conquest to cut loose for the first time in his life. But this battle revealed that there were flaws with the Viltrumite cause, something Conquest devoted his entire life towards. The Viltrumites were alone in their efforts. Their entire devotion to building the ultimate utopia was flawed from the beginning. This was both a metaphorical crushing realization, and a literal one, as his face was pretty severely smashed in by Mark. But as we expect from the Viltrumites at this point, they can take a lot of damage. Anyways, this guy named Cecil got a hold of Conquest's body to attempt to learn more about Viltrumite physiology, but then he immediately escaped. Whoops! Conquest retreated to lick his wounds back on the Viltrum homeworld, and after a while would have his rematch with Invincible. Conquest tried his best to prove to himself and his empire that he is worthy of being part of it, but alas, was to no avail. Mark, Oliver, and Nolan beat Conquest for the final time and was laid to rest. While Conquest may have lost his way many years ago, but he was still a warrior respected by Nolan and a true Viltrumite. Not the conquering empire, but a true symbol of power.
It's not very often that I get to cut loose like this. I mean, really cut loose like I have here. Usually there are so many mission parameters. Don't destroy this. Keep this person alive. But not here. Not with this planet, for whatever reason. I don't really care why, to be honest. I was told, take control. No matter what it takes, take control of the planet. So whatever you did to piss us off, thank you. This has been fun.
Son Goku, a young man known for stopping the Red Ribbon Army, slaying the evil King Piccolo, and fought his way to become the winner of the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai Tournament. This is not his story. Instead, the topic of this analysis revolves around Son Goku's heritage. His alien heritage! Unknown to Goku, he was a Saiyan, a race of aliens known for their savagery, brutality, and their pride as warriors. The Saiyans were feared among the galaxy, up until an evil space turn blew up their planet for shits and giggles, but that's a story for another time. What's important is that there were several survivors of this mass extinction. The previously mentioned Son Goku, obviously, some guy that looked exactly like him, not related, a rage-filled baby and his father, these guys, the prince of the Saiyan race, and the most important survivor for today, the great Nappa. Having literally nothing better to do, Vegeta and Nappa went on to work under Lord Frieza, which is ironic as he covered up the fact that he blew up the planet. But besides that, Nappa and Vegeta were some of the best soldiers under Frieza's army, thanks to the Saiyans' natural abilities as fighters. See, the many warriors of Frieza's army can utilize Ki energy, a natural life force allowing fighters to unleash devastating attacks. Saiyans like Nappa are unique, however, since the Saiyan race can naturally use Ki, and don't have to undergo training to do stuff like fire, blast me of Ki, or fly. However, Nappa has come up with a few unique techniques of his own, such as Volcano Explosion, Arm Break, Bomber DX, Eye Lasers, and his strongest attack, the Break-Ken, a giant mouth laser. Yes. But if Nappa doesn't think you're good enough to go all out on, he has these creepy little fellas to do his dirty work for him. The Cybermen, creatures who are literally grown from the ground, and over the years have become an extension of Nappa in a way, always appearing alongside him in various media. What they lack in power, they make up for in numbers. Just like Nappa, the Cybermen can utilize basic Ki attacks, but unlike Nappa, they discharge acid. For some reason. I mean, whatever works. Oh yeah, the Cybermen can, blow up, but you knew that by now. You think being a Saiyan, Nappa would treat his Cybermen like disposable soldiers, but you'd be wrong. Nappa is actually one of the very few sympathetic Saiyans, as Nappa is shown caring about the Cybermen, as well as his fellow Saiyan brethren. For example, when Vegeta found out his planet got exploded, he was all, "Oh great, I'm never gonna be king!" In comparison, when Nappa found out one of the last remaining Saiyans bit the dust, Nappa wanted to find a way to bring them back. But I don't think that means Nappa is a complete softie. Saiyan pride still runs through him after all, so Nappa wants to show the galaxy just how powerful his race truly is. That's shown through Nappa's fighting style, or rather lack thereof. Nappa loves to overpower his opponents without much of a plan, because what better way to break someone's spirit than show them they have zero chances of winning. But if Nappa does find himself having trouble, he has an ace up his sleeve. Or rather, up his ass! Nappa has access to the Ozaru transformation. This is where he turns into a giant monkey and gains a 10 times multiplier to his power. To transform into an Ozaru, a Saiyan must absorb at least 17 million Xenounits of blitz waves through the retinas of their eyes to initiate this transformation. Which is nerd talk that means they just need to stare at a full moon. Of course, the Saiyans have a technique that artificially creates a fake moon, allowing them to transform, but Nappa himself cannot use this technique, as stated by Vegeta himself. Only elite Saiyans are capable of using this ability. That's right, Bardock never created this technique. Bardock didn't do shit. Fuck you, Bardock! All these powers and more made Nappa a valuable asset to Frieza's army, but Nappa and Vegeta always desired a way out of the tyrant's rule. That guy is kind of a prick. But later, they found their excuse when a fellow Saiyan named Raditz learned about some wish-granting orbs on a planet named Earth. By the way, Raditz is Goku's brother. He's dead now. Miraculously, Nappa and Vegeta learned of this, and decided to head to Earth to wish themselves some immortality. When they got to Earth, they were greeted by some of the strongest fighters on the planet, but despite their efforts, they were no match for Nappa as he mercilessly slaughtered them all. He was about to do the same to Son Goku's kid, Gohan. The word for Son Goku arriving in the nick of time. Very clearly pissed off that his friends were all murdered, Goku wrecked Nappa's shit, leaving him a broken man. Using the last of his strength, the only thing Nappa could do was beg his only friend for help. And then he died. Yeah, there's always a bigger fish. And unfortunately, Nappa just wasn't high in the same food chain. Though Vegeta's kind of an ass for killing him, since Nappa took out 3 of Earth's defenders. But then again, he could have done that with like 44 times less effort, And that's the end of his story. In the grand scheme of Dragon Ball, he didn't really amount to much. However, that isn't to say that Nappa didn't leave an impact on the series. Their friends diagnosed with dead. Ririn and friends were set on reviving them by heading towards planet Namek. Let's put that into perspective. If it wasn't for Nappa killing Piccolo and in turn Kami, then Gohan, Kuririn, and the other one wouldn't have gone to space. Piccolo would have fused with Nail, and Goku wouldn't have never gone Super Saiyan. All of those important moments in Dragon Ball history were because of Nappa. Though you can say the same thing with Raditz, but I don't see Raditz being important enough to be in fighters. Well, at least Nappa made an impact on tons of folks through other ways. Thanks, Team 4-Star.
I am hilarious and you will quote everything I say.
Regardless, if you ever choose to underestimate the great Nappa, that'll be the last mistake you'll ever make.
Finished! You pathetic little rat. You can't even overpower someone like him. Nappa! Win!
We open to a barren, cloudy, dark planet. The only sources of bright light came from the burning civilizations that have all been reduced to rubble. At the very center of the destruction were Nappa and Vegeta, who were currently feasting on the charred remains of the planet's inhabitants. A loud thump caught the attention of the two Saiyans. They turned around to see Conquest standing atop a stone structure, looking down upon the two aliens.
Well, wouldn't you know? A Viltrumite. Didn't expect to see one this far out.
Tell me, what's a member of your worthless species doing on this planet?
This planet was ripe for Viltrum takeover, though it seems Frieza's forces have gotten here first. How unfortunate.
As Conquest slowly approached the duo, he noticed the tails around their waist.
And I thought the Saiyans were all wiped out. As thanks, how about I finish the job?
Ha! All Viltrumites must be senseless if they think they can take on us Saiyans! Nappa, show this fool his place!
With pleasure.
Nappa cracked a smile as he made his way toward Conquest. The Viltrumite was unimpressed as he dropped down to the Saiyan's level.
You either have a death wish or you're just dumbasses if you think you remotely stand a chance, Saiyan.
As if. The only moron for miles is you, Baldy. How could you possibly think that this pebble was worth conquering?
Rich coming from the ape who got here first. But that doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to enjoy smashing your face into a pulp.
Now that's the spirit. Fresh meat for the slaughter.
Conquest merely scoffed at the Saiyan's remark, as he then launched himself at the Saiyan within a fraction of a second. Traveling at Mach speeds, the Viltrumite threw a punch, only for it to be casually blocked by the Saiyan's left arm. Then, while using his free hand, Nappa aimed a punch right in the center of Conquest's face, resulting in the Viltrumite skidding across the ground. He stopped himself to glare at his opponent.
So you can throw a punch. Big deal.
The two alien warriors break into a sprint that transitioned to both of them flying toward each other. They repeated strikes, creating shockwaves that shook the very ground beneath both. However, the Viltrumite was able to break the stalemate as he brought his metal arm down onto the Saiyan, slamming him into a nearby mountainside. Nappa didn't have time to recover as Conquest smashed into his gut, plowing the Saiyan's body through the mountain and out the other side. As he exited, Conquest grabbed hold of Nappa's neck, squeezing harshly to choke the life out of his opponent.
After all that gloating, turns out you Saiyans are nothing but talk. No wonder that little bastard bosses you around.
Enraged, Nappa's eyes glowed before lasers are shot out from his eyes directly into Conquest's. The Viltrumite yelled in agony, causing him to let go of Nappa. Now freed, the Saiyan proceeded to lay the smackdown onto his opponent.
My turn.
Conquest turned toward the Saiyan, only to be met with a right hook to the chest, sending him flying off into the distance. Nappa chased after the Viltrumite to unleash a barrage of punches and kicks at a blinding rate. Nappa ended his long combo with a kick to the chin that skidded Conquest across the ground. However, to the annoyance of the Saiyan, the Viltrumite elite was barely phased from his onslaught of attacks, so Nappa figured it was time to up the ante as he surrounded Nappa's body.
Giant storm!
Beneath Conquest, the ground beneath the Viltrumite violently shook before a radiant white light burst forth. Conquest became engulfed in an explosion of energy within seconds. Nappa admired his handiwork from a distance, but as the explosion began to subside, his eyes widened with bewilderment as Conquest was still standing. Despite having his uniform mostly blown off, as well as burn marks adorning his body, the Viltrumite was unimpressed.
Well, it's a start.
The Saiyan warrior made a frustrated growl as he launched ki blast after ki blast. Conquest surged forth, using his robot arm to bat away the incoming projectiles as he inched ever so closer to the Saiyan. Once Conquest was close enough, the Viltrumite slammed the refined hunk of metal straight into Nappa's head, forcing a hefty groan out of his mouth. Nappa attempted a sucker punch, but Conquest easily evaded the attack and capitalized on his foe's mistake by repeatedly smashing his metal arm into Nappa's side. He did this over and over until Nappa coughed out blood over Conquest's face, the latter reveling in the Saiyan's agony. Nappa thought fast, jabbing his knee directly into Conquest's solar plexus, catching him off guard long enough for Nappa to uppercut him into the air, following up by creating an exploding wave of ki that sent Conquest further away. Nappa kneeled to the ground, gasping for air and slamming his fist in frustration.
Damn it. That toy of his really packs a punch. Looks like I have to take it away from him somehow. I know. A distraction.
Nappa took out a strange vial and began pouring a green liquid into the ground. Within seconds, numerous Cybermen sprouted from the planet, spouting devilish smirks on their faces.
Check it out, Viltrumite. These little guys are gonna put you through hell.
Nappa stood proudly as the Cybermen eyed their target in the sky. But from Conquest's perspective up above, all he could see was a massive green on the ground.
You planted grass?
Grass?
The Cybermen all cackled in unison before they all flew toward the airborne Viltrumite. A brave Cyberman led the charge, wheeling its arm backward aiming to swipe at Conquest's head. But as the Cyberman made contact, the creature's arm snapped clean off. The lone Cyberman cried in fear as Conquest punched it, smashing it into an unrecognizable mass of meat. Upon seeing this, fear immediately settled to the remaining Cybermen as the Viltrumite launched himself into the horde. The creatures all played keep away, firing off blasts of acid at Conquest that severely corroded his body, but did absolutely nothing to slow him down. Eventually, Conquest caught up to one of the Cybermen and inserted his entire arm through its body. In a last-ditch effort, the Cyberman erupted into an explosion, knocking Conquest into a daze. Before he had the chance to recover, the remaining Cybermen all clung onto the Viltrumite's body, before violently exploding. As the smoke cleared, Conquest was still in one piece, yet was exhausted. The Viltrumite looked around the area, wondering where Nappa ran off to during all the excitement. His question would be answered quickly as the Saiyan made his presence known.
Surprise!
Conquest turned upward to see the Saiyan descend upon him, bathed in electric sparks and a bright aura. Nappa reeled back his right arm and aimed a punch directly at Conquest's right elbow. When the punch landed, Nappa was utterly dumbfounded to see his charged-up attack do completely nothing to the Viltrumite.
What the?
I was wrong. You didn't make any progress at all.
Conquest thrusted his head forward into the Saiyan's face, causing Nappa's nose to burst into a scarlet splatter. Nappa dropped to the ground, reeling in agony as the Viltrumite floated above him.
You know, you and your friend caused some setbacks for the Viltrumites, but I'm not even mad. Hell, I'm having a great time. So thanks, Saiyan. This has been fun.
Saiyans are not a toy of your amusement!
Nappa threw a ball of ki toward the Viltrumite, who easily swerved out of the attack's path. However, the ball of ki kept going until it touched the clouds above, causing an explosion that dispersed the skies, revealing the brilliant light of the moon. Nappa laughed wildly to himself, as within seconds, Nappa's body grew and transformed into that of a mighty Ozaru.
Now I'll show you what us Saiyans are all about.
Indifferent, Conquest glared at his opponent as he flew up to him. Nappa reeled back his fist, prompting Conquest to do the same. Both warriors threw their fists at one another, and when their punches collided, Nappa's attack shattered Conquest's metallic arm completely. The Viltrumite, through a pained groan, had a joyous expression plastered all over his face.
Finally! Now we're getting somewhere!
Nappa smashed Conquest into the ground as he proceeded to pummel him like crazy.
What's wrong? Where'd all that fight go? Oh, I know what'll help. A nice trip to the afterlife.
The giant monkey raised both fists overhead for a double-handed overhead smash, but the Viltrumite seemingly jolted back to life and launched himself at the transformed Saiyan. Conquest dragged Nappa through the air, passing the clouds and into the planet's atmosphere. There, Nappa flexed his muscles and forced Conquest off him. Nappa immediately grabbed Conquest and launched him straight into the planet's moon. A sizable fracture formed seconds after. Though Conquest was far from finished, bringing with him a massive chunk of the moon as he barreled toward the Saiyan. Seeing this, Nappa gathered energy into his mouth, readying all his remaining energy into one final attack. With neither warrior backing down, Nappa and Conquest braced themselves for what would potentially be the last fight of their life. Nappa unleashed the break cannon. The massive beam whittled down Conquest's makeshift shield by the second. Before his defense was completely destroyed, Conquest abandoned his shield and bellowed a mighty roar as he reeled back his remaining arm for one final attack. Nappa was too slow to move out of the way as the Viltrumite unleashed the strongest punch he could muster. And all it did was push the Saiyan back slightly. At this moment, fear settled within the Viltrumite's mind, something he hasn't felt for a very long time. Nappa grabbed Conquest out of the air and began to squeeze his body, causing immense anguish onto the Viltrumite.
Now, what was that about smashing my face into a pulp?
Conquest's soul eye widened as Nappa smashed his head into his entire body. The Ozaru did this again, and again, and again, and again, repeatedly smashing Conquest into his head, painting his face with the Viltrumite's blood. After what felt like hours, Nappa ceased to admire his handiwork. Conquest was nothing but a mangled mess of flesh and blood, yet somehow still clung onto life. Nappa launched the remains of Conquest into the depths of space as he fired one last break cannon, pulverizing the alien warrior until nothing remained. Nappa floated in space, reflecting on the mighty battle the Viltrumite gave him. After a while, Nappa returned to the planet's surface, reverting back to his normal form, where he met back up with Vegeta.
Took you long enough?
Sorry for the wait. Old one-hander over there is tough, but no match for the great Nappa.
Whatever. You won in the end, and that's all that matters. Now come on, let's get off this forsaken rock and tell Frieza the good news.
Hey, Vegeta. You think more of them will show up? The old man seems pretty important.
Perhaps. I'm sure Frieza will take particular interest in planet Viltrum.
And so, the two remaining Saiyans left the desolate planet, telling the Emperor of the news and ensuring that the Viltrumite homeworld will have a dark future ahead. Nappa fired the break cannon, firing the luminous beam at his incoming opponent. Just as the key attack was about to make contact with Conquest, he swerved out of the way, causing the powerful attack to hit the moon, vaporizing the massive planetoid until nothing remained. Nappa's eyes widened. With his power source gone, it didn't take long for the Saiyan to revert back to his normal form.
Damn it!
Conquest flew into the Saiyan, plunging his entire arm through the Saiyan's chest, impaling him. The Saiyan let out a wretched cry, watching as Conquest unsheathed his arm out of his own body. Then he watched the Viltrumite tear off his own tail. The still alive Nappa weakly gurgled and attempted to reach up for his tail. His dominating opponent only raised out of his reach.
Saiyans really are a moronic race. It was too easy to get rid of your power source. Whatever. Time to end this.
The Viltrumite plunged his arm into the Saiyan's body a final time, as he then dragged Nappa out of the atmosphere and back to the planet. Within seconds, they reached terminal velocity, causing Nappa's body to combust into flames. With his consciousness fading, Nappa barely recognized what was happening to his body, as his body slammed into the surface of the planet. All that remained of Nappa was a mess of flesh that permanently stained the planet's surface. Conquest reveled in his kill, as he then wrapped the Saiyan's tail around where his robot arm used to be, a reminder of this encounter. Just then, Vegeta perched himself on an elevated stone structure, catching the Viltrumite's attention.
Oh, congratulations! You managed to kill an idiot who was barely worth a fraction to a Saiyan elite such as myself!
I thought a prince would be kinder to his subjects.
Please, I was only willing to keep that moron around to do my dirty work. However, I do take issue with that.
Vegeta points to Conquest's arm.
What about it?
Removing a Saiyan's tail and wearing it as a mere accessory. Of all the things I've seen over the years, that reaches a new low.
What? You gonna take it from me then? I'd like to see you try.
All of a sudden, Vegeta burst into a laughing fit, making Conquest visibly irritated.
What's so funny?
Please, look at yourself, completely exhausted and 1 foot in the grave. Allow me to correct this for you.
Vegeta half-heartedly raised a hand and fired a beam of ki at Conquest. The Viltrumite cracked a smile as he easily backhanded the attack with his remaining arm. The Saiyan Prince looks on impressed, as Conquest assumed another battle-ready stance.
We Viltrumites never back down from a challenge.
So, you still have some fight left in you, Very well.
Conquest launched himself at the Saiyan Prince as Vegeta readied himself. Perhaps the Saiyan can prove it to be a better challenge than the previous, Conquest thought to himself, as the two fought through the night. Alright, this is a shorty, so I'm gonna keep this explanation brief. Like shrugs. Both have been doing their own space-conquering shenanigans since before the series even started, but it's clear that Conquest generally has more experience doing his own thing since, well, look at him. Though this is kind of a moot point since Nappa's control over Ki is unlike anything Conquest's ever seen before in his own series. And while he doesn't have as much variation as other characters, Nappa can still do shit like fire beams out of his hands, eyes, and mouth, and cause giant explosions. Compare that to Conquest, who can just punch. But Conquest is also just the smarter of the two. It'd be pretty realistic of Conquest to figure out the moon gives Nappa power and think, yes, I'll blow it up, especially if Nappa grew multiple times his size and was suddenly more powerful than Conquest. Speaking of, it might be weird for Nappa to transform into the Ozaru during the fight since he's never done it in the show, but his tail is literally right there, you guys, come on! It'd be a waste not to take advantage of it, but hey, there's a lot of things you can do in this fight, even with both characters having very limited arsenals. If you, dear viewer, were to write this fight yourself, what would you do differently? Leave your comments in the Australia box down below, and stay tuned for the next episode. See ya! Hey y'all, sorry for interrupting, by the way. I want to take the time to apologize for the long wait between episodes. Right when I was finished recording all the lines for Nappa vs. Conquest, college popped up again. So that was my main priority for the year, just focusing on college over this stupid versus series. Wow, shame on me for. So yeah, I'm just here to let you know that from now on the upload schedule for Collision Course is going to be very infrequent as I focus on finishing up college. I feel like the only time where I'll be able to work on episodes are during breaks between classes and whatnot. That's the explanation. Sorry for taking so long. Hey, at least I waited long enough. At least I waited long enough to be in the middle of the Dragon Ball Death Battle episode and Invincible taking a break. So, you know, it's good for views. So even though I'll be taking like long breaks between episodes, I'll still be working on just know that I'm still working on multiple projects in the background, whether it be versus related or non-versus related. I have a different channel for that, or in general, just like working on stuff on different channels. You might see me more in the future than this channel. So yeah, I won't keep you here any longer. Here's the next time. Hope you'll enjoy it.